Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Cat B and Andy B Inspired Connections podcast. We're coming to you, as always, transatlantic from the UK and the US. Today, we have our very special guest, sorry, just getting over the flu, can barely talk, Carrie Brody. Welcome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Carrie. Tell everybody about yourself. Tell everybody about your new book and what you've been doing.
Definitely. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Kat and Andy, for having me today. I'm so honored to be here, coming across two areas. It's so wonderful to reach so many people. I'm located here in the United States in beautiful New England in Connecticut. And for the past 6.5 years, I've been on a journey of healing after my 9-year-old son, Seth, just suddenly died of no known causes. He was totally healthy and vibrant, and his case is deemed what we know as SUDC, which is sudden unexplained death in childhood. I met Kat pretty early on in my journey. I think it was in 2019. It hadn't even been a year yet, and she's seen my healing and my progress. At first, I didn't think healing was possible. I just thought I was doomed to a life of misery. My life was literally shattered into a million pieces because we didn't have any anticipatory death or anything like that. We didn't know what was coming. My husband likes to say we were walking down the street and a toilet just dropped out of the sky and hit us in the head. And how do you pick up the pieces after that? This just devastating loss. I say my life was bisected in two, and I had life one and now I have life two. And I had to make a decision of what I was going to do. I wasn't going to stay on this earth and be miserable. My Seth was a very happy, vibrant, intelligent, loving person. And if I was going to live for him, I had to live it in a style that I would feel comfortable with to have an impact and to live his legacy and live for him. So it has not been easy. It has not been an easy road. Through many, many beautiful people and mentors and connections, I've put my life back together a little more jagged and in many, many pieces. And they don't fit quite together in the way they used to, but I'm learning and healing every day.
Amazing. And were you a teacher before, Carrie? Is that right?
I was a preschool teacher for 10 years before my daughter was born. And then I became a stay-at-home mom. And then 3 years later, Seth was born and I continued as a stay-at-home mom. But when my daughter was 10, we decided instead of sending her to middle school to homeschool her. So my teaching came back in that way. And we got involved in the community. We didn't just sit home and homeschool. We were out in the community. So I taught many classes and many children. Again, I taught the preschool class and we just were going on our like merry way. My children went to Montessori and then they were homeschooled. And then even during the pandemic, I continued to homeschool for 3 years. Even though my daughter returned to in-person school in high school, I still taught students online. And then in 2023, I became a grief educator. And I chose that program very specifically with David Kessler because it was an educator. And you could call it a grief coach or a grief counselor, but I like to call it a grief educator because when your life is shattered, you're learning. You have to relearn everything. I say you totally start over. I kind of had to learn how to walk and how to talk and how to do everything again, like from toddlerhood, because I walk differently, I talk differently, I act differently. I'm not the same person that I was before. So grief educator just sounded so aligned with my thoughts, and we live in a grief illiterate society. So I don't only educate people that are grieving, but also people that have not experienced a life shattering loss. There's so many losses, and we know that loss is not only death. And so a lot of people need help, and I'm there to help people help those that are grieving also. So yes, my beginnings as a teacher have stuck with me, and I use things that I've learned over the years and as a teacher to help me and help other people too.
It's just amazing from a soul planning point of view. Sarah Rubble was here last week. She was talking about soul planning, and there you see that lovely entwined pathway that you were teaching before has come back in a different guise. And obviously, Seth, and your relationship, because you were homeschooling them, was so close as well that devastation and that intimacy has a real impact, doesn't it? He's a beautiful, vibrant child, though. Tell us about him, Carrie. Tell us about Seth.
I would love to. Thank you. I love to talk about Seth. Yes. One of the first things that I knew I had to do was to find him. I don't use words like lost because he's not. He's right here with me all the time. He's around me. Maybe I think I was more lost and I just had to go work on my grief and clear my channels and my openness and my intuition so I could connect with him very deeply. I connected with him pretty quickly when he first passed because then you're in shock and the grief hasn't really hit yet. And he started sending me messages almost immediately about his funeral, about his 10th birthday party that he had already planned, and also about his celebration of life. So we were working together right from the very beginning. We had a very, very strong connection. And then when the grief really hit, that's when I kind of knew that I had to do something to open up those channels and be able to walk this life with him and hear him and be able to communicate with him. And just a few months ago, we wrote a book together and published it together. It's almost solely channeled by him.
Yeah, tell everybody. So we'll get onto the book in a moment. Tell everybody how you started, like the inspired connections and how they came. How did you recognise that it was him and not your intuition? What happened, Carrie?
It was very different. When I get downloads from my guides and my intuition, it's in my voice, in my language. I knew that I was hearing things from him because there were things that I wouldn't say. And I did a lot of automatic writing, and there were things that I wouldn't write. I just don't use that language. It was very childlike and very much things that he would say, and he would put things in that so I would know it was him. So it was so much his personality. And my mom had transitioned 13 years before Seth. So I was already familiar talking to her. So I kind of already knew the difference between my personal guides and my intuition and my mom and my grandparents. So I knew when it was him. I could discern that pretty quickly. I'm very open, and my channels are very open, and my mom was extremely open. So this was kind of a natural gift, not like yours, Kat. If I get something for other people, I share it with them, but it's more an internal for me thing that I get, and so many signs. And I've just learned over these years to stay extremely present. If I'm in the present moment, I will receive. If I go to the past, that's not where he is. If I go to the present, that just brings more connection. If I go to the future, we're not there yet. That brings a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. So if I stay present, that's where he is. That's where my intuition is. That's where I get the messages. That's where I see the signs. So I try to stay present.
What's been the most amazing inspired sign? What's been the most amazing synchronicity or sign that you've had? And how did the book come about?
I think probably writing the book. That was just amazing. Kat, I must have had a reading with you 2 or 3 years ago, and you told me I was going to write a book. And I said, absolutely not. No way. I would never put myself out there. I don't know that I said that to you, Kat, but I said that to myself. I would never be that vulnerable. I would never put myself out there. I wouldn't want people to read it. And then probably a year after that, during meditation, I started getting a lot of signs that I should write a book. And then it was 2024, Valentine's Day, sitting in meditation. I just sat in the power, and then I connected with Seth, and he said, "You are writing a book." Like, he was definite, and he would not let me stop. And that day, he gave me the title, he gave me signs, he gave me characters. I just got up from my meditation cushion. I went into the shower because a lot of times we're both water signs. It just helps me think and sort things out and align. And I came out of the shower, I still had a towel around me, and I just sat down at the computer. And like what we were saying before, the words just didn't stop flowing. And it was like 3 chapters in, and it was all channeled.
Have you got an example of your book? Show everybody your book. Have you got your book nearby?
Absolutely. So my book is called Do You Know the Way by Carrie Brody. If you can see the front, Seth drew this picture. He painted it in art class 1 month before he transitioned. And he showed me this, that this had to be the cover. And if you can see it clearly, it looks like a path, right? And you don't know where it's going. And it looks like water and mountains. And he was only 9 years old when he drew this. And then he told me that the title had to be Do You Know the Way? Because he was a little meme junkie. And that in 2018, that was one of the most popular memes around. It was this little red character. And he always said, Do you know the way? In like a funny little accent. And if Seth didn't like what I was telling him, I didn't give him the answer he wanted, or he wasn't being cool enough, he would say, Come on, do you know the way? You don't know the way. You don't know anything. Like a 9-year-old boy, 9-year-old, almost 10. So he told me that had to be the title. And then I was like, it's actually absolutely perfect. Because I also ended my eulogy to him at his funeral saying, I do not know the way without you. Like without you here in the physical. And he told me, yes, you do. And we're going to walk this way together. So going back to my preschool roots, like you said, this is navigating the who, what, why, where, when, and how of grief, of love, of hope, of healing. And for me, healing is not a destination. It's an every single day, consistent, constant way of life.
Wow. That's amazing. I absolutely take my hat off to you, Carrie. That's an amazing journey. One that Andy shares with you as well. You understand the feeling, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I really resonated when you introduced, your story and how there was this sudden loss. My son passed in a car accident. It was sudden, no anticipatory. And like you said, grief is very different. There's so many different layers, so many different experiences. But for me personally, and maybe for you as well, it's like one day your life is great. You're on a business trip, you're doing whatever you're doing, and the next day it's not. Right. It's like you said, that your life is bisected. Absolutely resonates with me 1,000,000%. The man I was doesn't exist. Right. I kind of like me. Right. There's way more scars, way more stuff on this guy than there was on the other one. But yeah, that I think people miss that subtlety, particularly the grief illiterate. They have no concept. Yeah. Everything you said has resonated completely with me.
Thank you, Andy. Yes, I think with grief, there's so many things that are unique, but there's so many things that are the same. It's like this.
Where's life taking you now, Carrie? So you've been doing one-to-one grief coaching and educating, and are you
Yes,
advertising
yes,
around the?
I am. I started my business a little bit slowly because I graduated in 2023 from David Kessler's training. And then I also went on to be a spiritual and transformational life coach because I wanted to offer like a little bit more. But just plain life coaching didn't resonate with me. I wanted to bring my spiritual side into it because it's such a big part of who I am and my healing. And then I also became certified in grief movement with Paul Denniston because I think we keep so much in our bodies that we don't even realize. And movement is a really great way to express that and get that out. Because there's people that say, well, I can't meditate and talk therapy doesn't help and this doesn't help. I know there's so many different modalities you can use. And I was doing a lot of mediumship work and a lot of healing and counseling. And I still felt like this stuck in my gut. And I took one of Paul Denniston's free classes and I had the most cathartic cry on my yoga mat of my life. And I was like, there really is something to this. I was extremely open and I tried everything because I'm like, I don't think anything's going to make me feel worse because I was at rock bottom. So if I tried something and it just didn't resonate, that was fine. But what if it really helped? And grief movement was one of those things that really, really resonated with me and helped. So I took every single class that Paul offered. And then to grief educators, he offered a grief movement class where I could guide others. So I bring that into my grief work, into my grief coaching. So, and I hope to very soon be offering classes. Right now, I am just helping people one-on-one. My book took up a lot of my time of 24. in the beginning of 25. So, and then I had some personal things I was working on also, family things. So now I'm hoping to, in the rest of 2025 and beyond, focusing on my grief work and helping others and getting out in the community and speaking and promoting my book more and doing more one-on-one sessions and starting some group classes too.
Amazing. If you do group classes on grief movement, please drop the advertisement onto our page, Cat B and Andy B, Inspired Connections, put it onto the Facebook page. Honestly, we don't offer those kind of services, so it'd be nice for people to be able to find you and connect up with you on there, which is fabulous. I think grief movement is amazing. We did some of it on a retreat in Connecticut a few years ago. When you talk about these explosions of crying, or sometimes it comes out of laughter, or some people get gargling or burping, it's really weird, it bubbles up. What it is the energy blockage in the body. You realise the tension that you're holding down, and it frees you up. And we know, and this is kind of a topic that's really kind of key for Andy and I, because Andy experienced cancer after the loss of Josh. You want to get the grief out. You don't want it to resonate anywhere in any cavity. And so these exercises, whether you use sound, in Canada we're going to use sound to remove energy. You can use sound bowls, you can use gongs, but also this grief movement that Paul teaches, I think is really beautiful. It helps you express. He uses a little bit of sound in it, doesn't he? He uses movement, a little bit of sound. Again, it's just about putting this energy and getting these blocks out of the body. And it's like you said, I think that's probably one of the nicest pieces of advice I've ever heard somebody say. It's so simple. It doesn't matter if you try it. If it doesn't work, it's not going to do you any harm. But hey, presto, you try something and it's out there and it makes a difference. Bingo, you've got a lifeline. And that's what we need, isn't it?
Yes.
And I love that comment when you said it. It like sent, I don't know, electric shocks through me, because there's so many. I co-lead the Helping Fathers Heal group, and we get dads that have been there for years and brand new dads. And it's heartbreaking for me to see a dad come in and they're struggling to find their new normal, their new self, and they're holding on to the concepts that were prior. And they're like, well, I don't believe in this, or I don't believe in this, or, there's the armor. I'm like, dude, drop the armor. Try everything. Read every book you can get your hands on. Talk to everyone. And there will be things that Spirit puts into your life that will be transformational. And of course, it's easy for me to say, right? Because I'm almost 6 years down the road, but dads that are in the middle of it, I'm white noise to them at that point.
It's so true, though, isn't it? It is such a crazy journey. I think the fact that you've explored loads of different things, Carrie, and you can bring those to the table and help guide others, because sometimes people do just need a helping hand, don't they? They just need somebody to be that good Samaritan and walk alongside them. And I think the most important thing that we get across to everybody is that you do need help. And to do it on your own is really, really difficult. To give somebody else a little bit of that burden and help you, coach you through it, can be incredibly powerful. And if that's what you're doing, Carrie, I'm so proud of you. And I'm so proud that you've finally done the book. And how's it going? Have you got it out there? You've been on a few podcasts. Have you had some good results? How long's it been out?
It's been out only 2 months, just since March 12th, which was Seth's 16th birthday. He told me that it had to release on his birthday, and I tried to argue with him, but Kat, you can't argue with Spirit, because I did not want to put myself out there. Birthdays are one of the hardest days of the year. Sometimes I find that harder than the transition date, because that was the happiest day of your life going to the most devastating day of your life. But no, he made me do a Zoom release, and I asked him why, and he said because if he was here on Earth, he'd want to be online with his friends, of course. And so he wanted me to be online with my friends. Thank you. So I did a release at noon Eastern time on the 12th, on his birthday, 3/12/25, and about 25 people came, and it was wonderful. And yeah, there's been a pretty good response to it. I think it's a book that scares people a little bit. So if you have not experienced the death of a child, they're a little hesitant to read it. that it's going to be scary, some place that you don't want to go, but it's really not. And it's not just a grief book because people say, haven't experienced that, I don't need to read it. Somebody said to me, it's really not a grief book. I've heard two things. One said it's a love book. It's a book about the love between a mother and a son. And then somebody said it's actually a guide for life, that it can really help people guide them through life because I talk about my daily gratitude practice, my daily meditation practice, different modalities that you can use just to reduce stress. I talk about grief movement. I just talk about the truth about missing people and connections and isolation and community. Because I believe, like you were just saying, Andy, we don't heal in isolation, we heal in community. We heal with like minded people, we heal with support, we heal with love. So it really has a lot of different things in it. It's not just a grief book. And Seth put his little tidbit in of a way cooling tip because everything had to be cool for him. So each chapter, which is very short and easy to read, and you can read it in any order. You don't have to read it in the order that I put it. It's relevant no matter where. You can just pick it up and read any page that you feel like. And each section has a little way cooling healing tip with a hashtag, because he hashtagged everything, because that's how you find cool stuff.
Love it. I love it.
Love that.
Thank you. Well, Chad has gotten to know his personality very well. He even told her to do some stuff this past year, right?
Evidence to back it up. And I was like, hello, monkey. He's a lovely communicator. He's always been very effervescent and he's always given very good evidence and details. And I always think of, for some reason, I always think of turtles when I think of Seth. And I don't know if that is a...
Yes, turtles are his sign. Yes, from very, very early on, turtles were his sign.
Turtle is my company's mascot. That is so hilarious.
Wow.
I have one somewhere. I can't find it. But yes, turtles are very significant to me too, and I have nothing to do with any of this.
Wow, right.
Thank you for coming in, Carrie. It's lovely to see you. I wish you all the best with your book and everything that you're doing. And I'm sure it's going to be a great success. I'm sure it won't be the last time we see you. And I hope you join the page and share your gifts when you do your grief
I really will. I would be more than happy to do a session just for our group. We can just get together. That would be so lovely.
That would be so lovely. I'd be over the moon. Thank you so much for being here. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Andy. Lots of love and light to everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome.